Hey guys, I'm Ryan with Harlow Custom Microgreens. I want to talk to you today a little bit about stacking and blackout and the difference between the two, what they're used for, and kind of cover some ins and outs of it. We see a lot of conversation on the Facebook microgreen groups and the Reddit groups about what's wrong with my tray, why did it collapse, and a lot of times you find out that the growers are using blackout. They're pretty new to growing, and they're using a process called blackout, which we'll get to in a second, and as part of their process, and that's creating failures in their grow process. But we also see that there's some confusion in terminology about what a stack is and what a blackout is. Some people are calling this a blackout, and it's actually a stack. And blackout is the process of inverting a tray and creating a black dome over your product in order to put it in darkness. We're going to leave that there. We're going to come back to stacking real quick. What stacking is when you have sown your seed on tray and you're ready to begin germination process. You stack several trays on top of each other and then add weights to the top of that. Some growers will tell you that no more than 3 trays is optimal, and other growers will tell you that upwards of 5 or 6 trays can be stacked together. And both of these are correct, with a caveat. The ones that can be stacked 5 or 6 tall are things like peas, sunflowers, and radish. They're extremely hardy, they're very strong, and they'll push up, and they'll actually throw the bricks off the top if you let them sit long enough. Other things like basils and brassicas are not quite as strong when they start growing and germinating, and they won't be able to push all of that weight up. And you can actually overcompress a seed to the point where it doesn't grow because it makes the seed feel like it's too deep in the ground, too much weight. So what I found to be ideal for most everything that I grow is a stack of no more than 3, and with certain items like shiso, they actually want to be on the top of that stack, not the bottom. Beets and chard, I've learned, don't like to be more than 2 deep with some weight on top. If you get to the 3rd, that bottom one doesn't germinate very well, and it's usually the first to damp off. Outside of that, everything else gets stacked as 3s, and we use just standard Lowe's bricks. They're about 3.6 pounds a piece. And we have found that the 15-pound paver for brassicas and things like that are just too heavy. It doesn't work well. You can use it, but we get better results out of the small red bricks. If we need a little bit of extra weight, we can move up to the gray bricks, which are right around 5 pounds a piece, and we use these for peas and sunflowers and radish. So this is what a stack looks like. It's literally just trays stacked on top of each other with a blank at the top and some bricks on top. Now, what a blackout is a dome created over the top of a tray that has come out of stack. Blackout happens after you stack. If you try to do it before, your seeds aren't anchored in the soil and they'll just shoot straight up and you get all kinds of funky growth. So you're going to do a stack for a couple of days, and then you're going to take a tray, no holes in the bottom. This is a deep tray from Deep 1020 from Bootstrap Farmer. Again, no holes in the bottom. You turn it over and set it on top, and you'll notice that there's some breaks around the edges where they marry up, where light gets in. To fix that, we just take an extra set of bricks and set on top, just like that. And that'll black this out completely. Now, period of time for blackout. We only black out 2 types of microgreen, cilantro and leeks, and we do both for 12 to 24 hours, depending on the variety. Other than that, we don't use blackout for anything. I find that it creates mold issues, it creates elongated stems that are weak, and smaller cotyledons for a finished product. It's a diminished quality in my opinion, and the entire point to blackout is to get your product to a point of harvest faster. And you can shave 24 to 36 hours off your entire cycle, but that's pennies on the dollar when it comes to electricity and concerning the quality difference between what blackout produces and what non-blackout produces. Here at Harlow Custom, we go straight from stack under lights 99% of the time. Again, leeks and cilantro are the exception. There are rare occasions that I would tell somebody to use Blackout, and it's if you forgot to plant a tray on Sunday and you got it in on Monday. When it comes out of stack, you can do 12 hours of Blackout and get it to where it should be vertically and get it under lights, and that will allow you to try and catch back up. It won't be a perfect product, but that 12 hours of Blackout doesn't diminish it that greatly. You go a full 24 to 36 hours of Blackout, in my opinion, it's a much different product. It's very subpar. I wouldn't encourage it. But that is the difference between a stack and a Blackout. So when asking questions or troubleshooting, make sure you're using the right terminology. And one of the other questions that we see quite a bit is, how do I know when something's ready to come off stack? And the answer to that is the trays will tell you. You'll see little green plants sticking out the side maybe, or you'll see the tray itself lifting up. I don't have an example of that right now, but I do have an example of this stack that needs to be unstacked and set under lights. So why don't we take a look at what that looks like more closely as we unstack it. Okay, so we've moved under light just a little bit so you can get a better look at what this product is going to look like as we uncover it. We're going to pop these bricks off, and this is our top cover. We'll slide that out of the way. As you can see here, we have germination has been really good on this tray, and this basil is ready to come out. You can see these stems are about 1/4 inch, maybe 3/16 of an inch long. The cotyledons have formed in a cluster at the top. They've shed their hulls, and you might also notice this brown dusting that we have going here. That is not cocoa, that is actually crushed vermiculite, and we use that on seeds that need a little more moisture kept around the seed. And there's a couple different varieties like Chevril or basil that really like to have that extra layer of moisture on them, and that's why we use the crushed vermiculite. Can you grow basil without the vermiculite? Absolutely. Does the vermiculite increase germination? Again, absolutely. Some people like it, some people don't. To each their own. But you can see here, there you go, you should be able to see that pretty well. Those are about 1/4 to 3/16 of an inch long. They're pushing up, and we have even germination throughout the tray. That's an important part as well. So we're going to move that to the side, and you can see stack, the one on the second stack here, same thing, 3/16 to 1/4 inch long, somewhere in that range. Those beautiful little purple heads are even all the way across. We've got a little bit of sticking going on right there with the vermiculite, but that'll fall off here in the next couple of days. So we're going to move that one to the side as well. And here, you'll notice that this bottom tray, these are not quite as tall. They're not quite as robust, and it's the same type as basil that was on the top. The difference is the amount of weight that was on them. Now for this, I know this basil and the tendency for it to do this, and we've been growing it for a number of years. This particular tray will catch up to the other two in about 24 hours. They'll kind of almost explode and spring out and take off growing. So I know that it'll be where it needs to be in the next 24 hours and everything will be alright. But that is what it looks like when something is ready to unstack. And you can see, like I said, you can see how everything is kind of germinated and jumping up about 1/4 inch. That's what you want to see on anything that you unstack for germination. And you'll see that we've gone straight under lights. These will be here for about 14 days and then off to a kitchen somewhere in the vicinity. Each one of these trays are a custom order. Our chefs tell us ahead of time what they want to work with, and we plant that specifically for them. So that's our lesson for today on Blackout and stacking and the difference between the two, correct terminology, process, length of time. And you also got to see what something looks like when it's ready to be unstacked. These two are definitely ready to go. This one's going to be playing a little catch up. But if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. If you do something different, let us know.